It's Tempodromo, and I have my good friend Perry Marshall with me. Welcome, Perry.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me on today, and we're going to dig into some very interesting stuff. So
We do. I got a copy of your new book. Congratulations. How many books is that now?
That is number 7.
7.
So something like that. The official ones, anyway.
Right. Cool. So tell us about the new book. It's Detox, Declutter, and Dominate.
Well, about 5 years ago, I was here in my office. I was talking on the phone, and I looked through my French doors, and the president of my company was in there, Brian, who lives in Nebraska. And I was like, what is Brian doing unannounced in the middle of a day in February? And I thought, this probably isn't good. I don't know. So I get off the phone, Brian, Perry, what are you doing here? We have to talk. We have some problems. And we, for the next like 8 hours, it's like a 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. We argued until 10, 11 at night. It's like, we have too many projects. We have too much stuff going on around here. We have too many employees, not enough cash. We got to cut things. And I was like, no. Like, you don't understand. Like, we got this project and we got this project, and this is going to be so awesome. And when this hits, like, this is going to be so great. And so, like, we went back and forth about this for the whole rest of the day, including like bouncing to one bar, to a coffee shop, to a restaurant, and like, you know. And so basically by the end of the night, I had like convinced him I was right, or at least convinced myself that I was right.
Right.
And we didn't really do very much. And then about 3 months later, we figure out he was right all along. And then like, well, so then we're 3 months later than we should be on like really fixing some stuff. And we spent the entire summer trimming, shaving, cutting, chopping. And like we'd already started too late. And then, you know, when you start cutting stuff, the bills don't go away because you have it like we laid some people off. You've got to pay them like their severance package and stuff. So it was just not fun. But about probably after about 3 months of that, like we really got things tightened down, and it was like, wow, this company's like a whole lot easier to run when I don't have all this extra stuff.
Right.
But here's the punchline is that after I had spent 3 or 4 months going, what can I subtract? What can I eliminate? What can I subtract? What can I eliminate? It finally got drilled through my head how powerful it is when you take things away instead of just adding, pushing, increasing, dialing up, shouting louder, etc.
Right.
It was a huge change, and I realized that like everybody is just cramming all of this stuff into their life. And I don't just mean it. I mean, yes, like having a company with too many expenses, that's not actually what this book is really about. What it's really about is the mindset of what do you take away instead of what do you add. And so that's why we have a book called Detox Declutter Dominate, How to Excel by Elimination.
So I just looked at my calendar the other day. I was like, why do I have so many appointments with people that I don't even know? I just cleared out like 20 appointments this week. I'm like, oh my God, I have so much time.
Right. And so in the middle of all that, I visited a friend, and she was running the coffee shop on the Great Blasket Island in the western end of Ireland, which is probably the most beautiful place you've ever been. Like everybody should put Great Blasket Island on their bucket list. And she told me this story. She goes, Perry, I had these people in in line the other day at the coffee shop, and this is like, they don't have electricity there. She's got to cook, like boil tea on a propane tank thing. And like, so some people were starting to get grumpy. And then she heard this one lady, so you got to picture this, like, this is the most beautiful place you've ever been. And there's seals and there's birds and there's all this beauty all around you. And this lady says to her husband, she goes, "Get me out of here. There's no shopping. The coffee shop is way too slow. There's nothing to buy. There's nothing to even do here. Like, what are we doing here?" And the lady who's telling me the story, she says, she holds her hand in front of me as though it's a cell phone. She goes, "People are so like addicted to this that they don't even know what to do with themselves when they're not hooked up to technology anymore, even if they're at the most beautiful place in the world." Mm-hmm. And it kind of clicked. And my summer of cutting business expenses and subtracting, and then her comment about like cutting out the distractions, it suddenly all came together. And it was like those two things combined led to this book being what it is.
Yeah. Oh, I love the book. It's a lot of stuff. I've been following you forever. So the Renaissance time you taught me years ago, that just made huge difference in my life. Just get up in the morning, start with some meditation, some reading, some writing, and boy, you get so much more done during the day.
Yes. And people don't know this. Like, the absolute worst possible way that you could ever start your day is, you wake up and you pull a device into your bed and you start the death scroll. Like, people don't realize how this puts your entire day on a certain kind of a trajectory.
Yeah.
You start your day with, okay, get a shower, cup of coffee, sit down with a notebook. I mean, I'm not too particular about exactly what you do, other than it is uninterrupted, private space. You pray, you meditate, you have gratitude, you get your thoughts together, you figure out what your questions are for the day. That is such a better way to engage. You engage with the world by not engaging with the world.
Mm-hmm. You create space for ideas to come to you and you get stuff done.
And that is the most important thing in the 7 steps of the book. So this book has 7 steps, and they are, lots of books have steps, or they have strategies, or these are 7 things, or okay, let's go back to a classic, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The habits are principles. They're not like, oh, the order button on your website should be yellow. It's not stuff like that at all. This is that kind of a book, but it's a business strategy book. And these are 7 things that are the same, whether you're trying to make $10,000 a year or $10 million a year. They still apply. And I don't know of any other book that could say that. And step 1, most important step, it's how you start your day. It's Renaissance time. Now, step 2 is make your business 2 times more profitable with 80-20 focus. And the 80-20 rule is an incredibly powerful, like, most people think it's, oh, I think I heard somewhere that 80% of your sales come from 20% of your customers. Well, yes,
right.
That's true. That is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. It's not only is that true, but the 20% of the 20% produce 80% of the 80%. And that goes on until you're literally at the biggest customer. And it's true of the traffic on the dirt on your floor and your carpet. The 80% of the dirt is on 20% of the carpet, but it's your car engine. It's every single number in your Facebook, LinkedIn, Google account. And I don't know of any skill that's more powerful than dialing in into what is the 80-20 of the impressions in my Google account or the profitability of my customers. And so that's step 2.
Mm-hmm.
Step 3 says earn $1,000 an hour, at least 1 hour a day with 80-20 time. Now, most people will balk at this. They'll go, $1,000 an hour? What are you talking about? In fact, I don't remember, I think I got a Facebook account banned for saying I was advertising my 80-20 book and I was talking about it making $1,000 an hour. Like, you can get your Facebook account banned for saying that.
Yeah.
Well, what do I mean? Well, think about it. Let's say that you're Helen and you are a receptionist at a dental office and you make $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Well, when Helen thinks about getting a raise, she thinks about, well, maybe I could get $16.50, or maybe I could get it up to 18. And that's how she thinks about it. Like $16.50 is like a 10% improvement. She's
Right.
not thinking 1,000. But the phone rings. Wooddeal Dental, can you hold please? And then she comes back 2 minutes later and the person's gone. They were gonna spend $5,000 on a bunch of crown work,
Right.
but they left. So she lost $5,000 in 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That is $150,000 an hour.
Not bad.
$150,000 an hour for 2 minutes. So Helen makes $15 an hour. She loses $150,000 an hour. So here's my contention. My contention is that any effort that she spends with the office manager, the other people in the staff, the dentist, whoever, to figure out how do we make sure nobody gets put on hold for 2 minutes when they're about to spend $5,000. Anytime they spend working through that problem is $1,000 an hour work.
Mm-hmm.
See, most of Helen's time is worth like 0,
Right.
but some of Helen's time is worth $100 an hour, and some of it's worth $1,000 an hour, and some of it's worth $150,000 in 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And all of business and all of life works that way. Like there's these vast stretches of low value, not very important, doesn't really matter. People actually, without even realizing it, they fill their time with, they kill time.
That's what I was doing.
Right? Right. But then there are these leverage points. And when you start to focus on those, more shows up. When you fix the problem,
Mm-hmm.
that is killing your $5,000 phone calls, you get more $5,000 phone calls.
Right. That's step 3.
Step 4, create an irresistible product that's a joy to use by simplifying. And what this says is there's always a way to make your product more unique, more irresistible, and it's always making something simpler from the customer's point of view. So every business basically turns cow paths into roads, into sidewalks or roads or superhighways.
Yeah.
They take something that already wants to happen and they make it faster. Okay, so when you frame it that way, you suddenly understand, oh, how did Apple create a mega industry with an iPad? Well, what they really did was they took a personal computer and they turned it into something that a 2.5-year-old could use on an airplane.
Right.
And when it was simple enough for a 2.5-year-old, guess what? It's also simple enough for grandma.
Right.
Right. And then you turn the iPad into a phone and you have like the world's most revolutionary consumer product. And you don't have to do something Apple-sized, but there's an example at the end of the book, like that mere mortals could do.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark McShirley started a company called Roof Simple, and the name of the book is not by accident. He named it for the exact same reasons what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
He said, I am going to make a roofing company that instead of irritating people, annoying people, like the salespeople are programmed with bad habits and and industry norms that are all jacked up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like start from scratch. I'm gonna redesign the experience of working with a roofing company the way I want it to. I'm gonna make it a pleasure. And he did it. Like he really did this. The proof that he did this is he's got 4.8 stars on Google for a roofing company.
Mm-hmm.
Now what happens when you have 4.8 stars and the next guy has 6 reviews and 4 stars and the next guy has 3 reviews and 1.5 stars?
Right.
Right? Well, then reviews attract reviews.
Yeah.
Now, one of the ways he did this was he put a concierge on site to manage the roofing crew and manage all communication. And they give him a couple other jobs to do too. Most people would think that a concierge is totally unnecessary. Well, if you want the customer to have a really, 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 really great experience, they're not unnecessary. And so they are literally poised to take over the region with this roofing company. Okay, step 5. Carve out the niche where you are number one via star principle. Now, this sounds kind of obvious. Like it should be obvious that if you're Coca-Cola, like you make the most money and more than Pepsi.
Right.
Right. But what people don't realize is most people are selling most of what they sell. They're not number one, and they're not in a growing market.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, you get rid of one of those things, and pretty much 3/4 of your chance of making any real money goes away. And you get rid of both of those things, you're dead.
Right.
And so what do? You carve off a slice of your market that nobody else is addressing.
Mm-hmm.
And in every market there is something where, well, nobody's actually bothering to solve this problem.
Right.
It's everywhere. All you have to do is start asking, like, what problem is nobody solving? And like they'll give you a bunch of stuff. You might end up with 100 things, but there are somewhere in that list of 100 things, there is like, well, I can do this, and then you're the number one in that market. And even if you're selling something as obscure as Vietnamese potbelly pigs, people have no idea how much money you make if you're number one. You can make an appreciable income in a very small market if you're the number one person in that market. But if you're number 5, this is the other thing most people don't understand. If you're number 5, the chances of you actually being number 1 are pretty much nil.
Mm-hmm.
Like your customers have to intentionally screw themselves in order for you to leap up and be number 1. Everybody thinks they could just like brute force their way in.
It's like if you're on the second page of Google and search listings, you're gone.
Right. Yes, and it applies there too. Like it applies in specific media contexts. Right. It applies. So number 6, build an impenetrable moat around your business. In the glory days of Google Ads, I was a Google guy and I wrote the book, and I saw so many businesses like pop into existence. It was like mushrooms in your front yard on a nice warm day, like, well, they weren't there yesterday, but they went away just as fast as they came.
Yeah.
And I became very uninterested in businesses that can't last a long time. And so that's where the moat comes in. And there's a very interesting kind of, you need a moat around your castle.
Yeah.
Well, there are 20th century moats, and they are things like land and buildings and capital and manufacturing and all that. 21st century moats are network effect and data. Network effect is when Uber gets more riders, which attracts more drivers, which lowers the wait time, which gets more riders, which attracts more drivers, which lowers the wait time.
Yeah.
This virtuous circle. And what most people don't realize is that there's this thing, and we talk about it in the book, it's called network effect for mere mortals. And it's aspects of network effect that you can implement without millions of dollars of venture capital.
Mm-hmm.
And one good example of that is Google reviews.
Yeah.
Mark McShirley designed a business to get 5-star Google reviews from roofing customers. And I mean, it was, he carefully examined like every step in the entire process to make it pleasurable.
Yeah.
Now he has that. Now think about it. So reviews attract reviews.
Right.
Right? If you've got 300, getting to 350 is easier than going from 10 to 20.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so it feeds itself and it creates an invisible moat around his business. So there's about a dozen of these, and we talk about those in the book. Step 7 is enjoy freedom to create and invent every single day. Now, this is a completely different version of Renaissance time that I talked about in the first step. Mm-hmm. So the first time is it's how you start your morning, it's prayer, it's meditation, and that. Step 7 is deliberately engineering space and creativity into your schedule. Now, most of us are programmed from diapers to look busy. Mm-hmm. Okay, at least starting with kindergarten. Like, do your homework. Are you coloring your paper? Are you reading? Right, and then you get into high school and you get into work, and it's like as long as you look like you're working, as long as you look like you're busy, then everybody's okay with you.
Yep.
As soon as you are, sitting on the front porch staring at a puffy white cloud, like, what are you doing? And we get
busy.
My assertion is you need space in your day to sit on your porch and stare at a puffy white cloud. And you need to, but I don't know if that energizes you or not. It may.
Yeah.
But whatever it is that energizes you, that's fun, you need to do it. Like, if you are absolutely like gaga about your stamp collection, or if you love to go mountain climbing, or whatever your thing is,
yeah,
you actually need to do that, because that feeds the creativity in your business. And you need to subtract what I call $10 an hour work,
right? Which
is really, it appears to make you $10 an hour. It's actually negative $10 an hour, or negative 100, because you're losing money just because you're driving to the office supply store and somebody else could do it.
Yeah.
You're not getting ahead. You're losing money.
Right. You
move that stuff aside and you replace it with stuff that's in your creative space that energizes you. And then that starts a virtuous circle that feeds everything that we've been talking about. And so those are the 7 steps, and they're the same steps whether you're just a freelancer trying to get some gigs, or whether you're worth many millions of dollars. These will apply. These are Coca-Cola sized principles. They're not just individual size.
They're simple but powerful, because if you look at the book, it's like a brochure, but I know it's super powerful information.
Well, there's a story behind that too. A year ago, this was a 150-page book.
Really?
And yes, it was. And my co-author said, Perry, send me the manuscript. I want to do some stuff. Oh, okay. He sends it back to me and he goes, I 80-20'd your manuscript, is literally what he told me, which means he cut out the 80% that was only delivering 20% of the value. He goes, I got this down to 8,000 words. Now give me a couple weeks and I'll be back. And he came back and he designed all these infographics and he interspersed it and he did the graphic design of the book. And he's like, so this is a 36-page book that illustrates 7 principles, and it literally illustrates them. You can read the whole entire thing easily in an hour, but you can literally pull it off the shelf every month for the rest of your life.
Right.
And it will take you from 10,000 to 10 million. And that is the idea of this book. There's no other book like this.
I know. It's great. It's awesome. You're always innovating. It's great.
Robert Scrobe totally gets the credit for doing that innovation. I'm just, I'm beside myself, and I'm really happy with it. So
you can get the book on Amazon and perrymarshall.com.
Yes, you can get it on Amazon for about $9 in the US, and it will totally change your life. There is not a wasted word in this book. We chiseled down to everything in this book is essential.
It's like you put it through the Hemingway app.
Yes, we did. And it's very easy to read, and it's profound.
Cool. Well, Perry, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me, Ted.
Okay.